Hey everyone, it's Bailey.
And Brianna.
We're so happy to have you here. We're launching Mocktail Minutes. So first, just thanks for being here. Each episode, we are going to cover a topic, little fluff, lots of knowledge. We're going to get straight to the point. And for fun, we also do our little sips each week because it's Mocktail Minutes. So this week I have a companion kombucha. Never tried it, but they're local here in St. Louis. So we'll see how it tastes.
Nice. Nothing fancy. I have a bubbly, but I have it in here because I'm not adult enough to put things in the refrigerator when I buy them. So I had to add ice. So there's that.
Yes, totally fine. But today we have a very special guest. And if you read the title, you know exactly who she is. She's kind of like my celebrity friend. She changes lives. And without her, I don't think I would be sitting here today doing what I get to do as your dietitian. To know her is a lover. So everyone, meet Megan. Megan, do you want to give a little introduction about yourself?
Yeah, thanks, guys. My name is Megan Hansen. I've been a dietitian for about 12 years now, and I actually did not even work as a dietitian for probably, I don't know, the first 6 or 7 years after becoming one. But the last 6 years or so, I have been working online in the virtual nutrition space. I have a program called Metabolism Makeover. And I live in Atlanta, Georgia.
Nice.
Some fun facts.
Megan, what are you drinking? Do you have a mocktail?
Well, I did have a mocktail. I had a fruit punch, a jigsaw fruit punch, electrolyte drink. And I was stuck in traffic. I just came from the city because I had a dentist appointment, and I was drinking it on my way back, and I had to pee so bad that I just ended up drinking the rest of it and peeing in the cup on I-85. So
It's actually,
so now I no longer have it.
Did you throw it away?
Well, no, it's in my Stanley cup. I'm going to clean it. I'm not throwing that out.
No, not the Stanley.
Yeah. Yeah. It'll go in the dishwasher. It'll be all right.
okay.
Oh my God.
It's actually pretty impressive that you were able to do that.
I know. I was pretty impressed too. I was like, if I end up peeing on myself, I'm just going to walk in the house and it's going to be fine. But I didn't. I was successful at it.
I'm very proud of you.
That's fantastic. I guess you would need a Stanley, just in case.
Yes.
I'm always so scared. What if I start to pee and then I don't have a big enough container? Then you're just, then you're really in trouble.
And then you're in big trouble. Yeah.
That's
Oh
great.
my God.
I am so glad you shared that story. That is honestly hilarious. But yeah, today we were going to talk about Brianna and I's experience of coming to know you, and also wanted you to share your experience of being a dietitian, how Metabolism Makeover was born, and we're super excited to hear more about your journey and your upcoming project.
So kind of rewinding back to my experience in school, I was interning in October of 2021 and trying to figure out my place, figure out what I wanted to do. And I was following Megan. And at first I was like, okay, I really like this girl, trying to figure it out. And then I almost unfollowed you, to be honest, because I was like, this is not what we're being told every day in school. This doesn't seem right. But then I was like, nope, I'm going to give her a chance. So I kept following you, and I was seeing all these amazing results that your clients were having, that you were seeing in Metabolism Makeover. And I got more and more curious, comparing that to the approach that I was learning in school. So really looked more into the weight loss aspect. For example, we talk about the amount of calories in school that someone needs. And if you think about weight loss on the most basic level, yeah, calories matter, but they aren't king. And I was telling all these individuals about how many calories you should get per day, but I wasn't even doing that myself. And I just felt like it really sucked to be approaching weight loss in that way. So that's why I kind of stuck with you, and I never unfollowed you, because I was like, we need more of this. Brianna, do you want to kind of share your experience in school?
Yeah. So I actually had quite an opposite experience than most dietitians, come to find. So my program was pretty progressive. They were kind of okay, we're not really talking about calories in, calories out for the most part, but it was a lot of community needs, that sort of thing. And I've said this before, but while I was going through school, I realized, oh, wow, my relationship with food is super unhealthy. And I just thought it was normal and I was doing everything right. And then I realized no one around me was doing that. And all these people who were going to school to be dietitians ate all the foods and they ate carbs. And I was like, okay, I'm never going to talk about weight loss again, whatever. And I came across Megan's page and I thought, I I can't forget one of the first reels that I saw was the one where you're like making a protein shake and then you're like, oh shit, that's a margarita. And I was like, yes, that is so funny. Here's this girl. She's talking about weight loss, but in a way that resonates with me. You don't have to count calories. You don't have to do this. And I was like, okay, I can get along with this. Again, not something you're learning about when you're doing clinical dietetics. So I was like, okay. But I really resonated with it. And I was like, okay, this is someone who's like, we don't have food rules. We're not giving up fun. You can lose weight, meet your goals without counting everything. And I can get down with this.
Yes. Megan, do you want to share kind of your experience with school and also maybe a little bit about what made you become a dietitian?
Yeah, sure. So those stories are really funny. I'm glad you guys shared those with me.
Glad I didn't unfollow you.
Yeah. I actually wanted to become a dietitian because I was an athlete in high school and I am a high achiever, always have to be the best at absolutely everything I do. It's a great thing. And it's also, can be a curse sometimes. That's how we get burnout adrenals later in life. But I was a swimmer at the time, and I was a swimmer and a soccer player. But when I was a swimmer, I really, really wanted to improve my times. I wanted to go to state. I had all these goals. And so I picked up a fitness magazine, which I think is hilarious now to this day, that was my first touch with like health, was fitness magazine. And I'm reading it and, I'm thinking like, I'm reading out like fitness stuff. Like, what do I need to do on the weekends? Do I need to go run? Do I need to do this? Do I need to do that? How do I get faster? How do I get stronger? And they had so much information about nutrition. And I drank like Carnation instant breakfast in the morning before practice. Nutrition, not that we ate a bunch of junk food, but it certainly was not something that was important at all in my family. And I started learning more about healthy food and making this connection between what I eat and how I perform and how I feel every day. And I could feel the effects immediately. So not only did I get a lot faster and, I could see it, like I had data, but I also could tell on a Monday after eating junk food all weekend, what I would feel like versus on a Monday after not eating junk food all weekend, at practice. So making that connection was huge for me. And when I found out you could study nutrition in college, I was like, okay, done. That sounds a lot more fun than business school, right? But my kind of weird relationship with food definitely started in high school. And I'm kind of like you, Brian. I didn't know that I was doing anything wrong. I thought I was just being healthy.
Right, I'm doing the right thing.
Yeah. But then it kind of spiraled. So my experience in college was more that we were learning like really rigid. And granted, this was like 12 years ago, but I'm glad to know that there are programs now that have moved away from this, but it was like the very first thing that we learned was for medical nutrition therapy, MNT 101, that when you have a patient that comes in, the first thing you do is you get their height, weight, you figure out their BMI, you figure out how many calories they should be eating. If they're overweight, you put them on a diet. And it's like, maybe not a cancer patient or someone like that, but for most patients, the route that you would take. And we had a class project where we actually had to do this to ourselves, where we would put ourselves, I'm not saying that we had to put ourselves on a diet, but we had to put ourselves on a plan of some sort of, this is how many calories you eat. At the time, there was no MyFitnessPal. So we were doing handwritten food diaries. And so I was doing this, keeping track of my intake, counting my calories every day, keeping track of how many calories I was burning. And I wanted to lose 5 pounds. I'm pretty sure I did I remember the ideal body weight charts. Yeah. So my ideal body weight was like 120 and I was like 125 pounds. And I was like, oh, I better lose 5 pounds. And that's actually where my spiral really started, because I was eating like 1,200 calories a day. I was doing like 60 minutes plus of cardio every day. And now looking back, it's like, well, duh, you were in over 1,000 calorie deficit probably every single day. You were starving. That's when I really started on the binge restrict cycle. And my first time that I ever like really binged, I remember very clearly coming home from dinner. I was still so hungry because I'm also walking all over campus all day. Can you imagine how much cardio I was actually getting in? And I ate an entire jar of peanut butter. It was my roommate's peanut butter, of course. I would not have bought peanut butter. I remember laying in bed and I felt so sick to my stomach, obviously. I was freaking out about all the calories I just ate. And I still remember to this day, it never really dawned on me that this was not good. Like, this was not a good thing. It was more like, oh shit, I just overate. I'm going to have to burn all that off. Now I feel sick. There was definitely a lot of guilt and shame that was associated with it. But there was never that moment that I asked myself, why is this happening? Why am I doing this? Yeah. And I think really for the next 4 to 5 years, I experienced this cycle. There was a period where I was purging. I never went for treatment or anything like that. I seem to be able to remedy that myself, but the disordered eating was extreme for probably 5 or 6 years. And I ended up gaining weight during all this time that I was trying so hard to lose these 5 pounds. I ended up gaining about 20, 25 pounds over the course of 4 or 5 years. And I honestly think that was probably part of the reason why I shared at the beginning. I didn't work in dietetics for years because I really felt like a fraud. I was like, I don't believe in what I'm doing, first of all.
Right.
I don't feel excited about this. I don't want to go counsel somebody in weight loss. I can't even do it myself. And it was a really tough experience. I almost dropped out, actually, I think my junior year. And my mom was like, you are not changing majors right now.
You're in too deep.
So shout out to Sandy for literally not allowing me to change majors. But that was a lot of it. I don't think I knew that at the time. I don't think I was like, oh, I'm a fraud. But I know now that that's where that connection was. And I didn't believe in what I was learning and what I was doing.
I think that's popular to feel that way.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah. I mean, I have these conversations online all the time now with other dietitians. Every time I share this story, it's like they come out of the woodwork and they're like, oh my gosh, thank you for sharing that. I thought I was the only one. So I know there are so many of us out there that had this experience as well.
I felt the same way because I even remember doing that project that you were talking about where we had to look at our calories, looked at everything we were eating. We based our meal plan off of our ideal weight, how many calories we needed. And when I was calculating it, I was like, oh my gosh, what I normally eat is like 800 calories more than what I'm supposed to be eating. So I was like, okay, well, this is wrong. And then the next day I try to cut it back. Now I'm starving, but this is what I'm supposed to do, right? And so that was just super frustrating, I guess, because I wasn't even in a place where I wanted to lose weight or needed to lose weight. Weight loss was not even on like my spectrum. I wasn't even thinking about it until I was like, am I eating too much? Should I be losing weight? Like, what's wrong with me? And I sensed that feeling of fraud as well, because I was like, why am I telling all these people to count calories when I'm not even doing it myself? Why am I telling people to do things that I don't even want to do? And that was a big part of what got me to get to know more about you and join Metabolism Makeover as a coach. And I think that's really what changed it all for me. And I really found what I needed there to help also bring that to my own clients, to Metabolism Makeover. And I wanted to be a part of this community that was doing things differently.
Yeah. I gotta say, like, I've never been my ideal body weight. I was a size 0 wedding dress and was 15 pounds heavier than my ideal body weight. Like, there wasn't getting any smaller for me.
Yeah.
And so that's where I really started to realize, like, there's 2 different realms of dietetics. There's a clinical realm where, okay, we need these calculations. I mean, someone is literally laying in a bed. What do we got to do to keep them survive, help them in their disease state? But that is not, you can't apply that to like real life and helping people lose weight. It's just not sustainable. It doesn't work. It doesn't make sense. We're not these little controlled creatures that you could just put a simple math equation into a phone and then follow that and then be like, oh, wow, I'm exactly where I want to be. So I think that's what resonated the most with me with Metabolism Makeover. And that's where I was like, you know, I want to be a part of this. I want to help women reach their goals in a way that is sustainable and works for them, because there's one way to be a dietitian in a hospital, and then there's a completely different way you got to do it outside, because it's not the same. And I felt like you married the two really well. Like, you were like, let me tell you the science behind how your body works. And, you know, let me give you that power.
Yeah. And I think that's my biggest thing is I want to teach people and give them the tools to be able to do this themselves. And yeah, we're going to be there to support you, and you may need to hire coaches. I hire a coach. I almost always have some sort of coach in my life, but I know that I don't want a blueprint because I'm not going to follow it. Like, come on, we're human beings. We think we want a blueprint. We always think we want it. Tell me exactly what to eat. Tell me exactly how much of this. Tell me this. Tell me this. We don't follow it.
No.
So
Maybe
we don't have buy-in. We're just like, I don't want to do that.
No,
today.
not for more than a month. And it's just human nature. And so I think that was something that was really important to me when I was building the program, was like, let's just remove everything that doesn't work and keep the things that do work.
Yeah.
And what does work, I think, is teaching people and empowering them. And I think that there are probably some people that maybe that does not work with, but those are also not my ideal clients. You know, those are people that I don't want to work with. If you don't want to take responsibility for yourself and take your power back, like, we're not going to connect. So if you do, like, this is something that can completely change your life. And I think what's really cool too is when you start teaching people, you know, it's like starts with food. Okay. So I'm teaching people about, and I'll just to back up for a second, a lot of your listeners have maybe done Metabolism Makeover, heard you guys talking about it, but essentially it's a 30-day program that rolls into a monthly program where we focus on what I call the 6 pillars of a healthy metabolism or the metabolic ecosystem. And it's blood sugar control, muscle, movement, sleep, stress management, and gut health. And they're equally important. We need to be paying attention to all 6 of these things, not just diet and exercise. When you teach people about, like I like to say, like you teach them how their body works, you teach them how their metabolism works, you teach them how all these components work together to create your metabolism and your wellness, just like your overall wellness, then they can take that information and completely transform the way that they feel. And when they do that, it's so empowering and it really bleeds over into other areas of their life. And then they start asking themselves like, well, where else can I do this? Like, where else am I allowing someone to tell me what to do with my life or my body or my mind? And how can I take my power back over that? So it's very cool to see some of our members who have been around for a year or two who, yeah, like they feel awesome and they've lost weight, but they've also left their job and they're doing something that they're super passionate about. They've bought their dream vacation house. They've manifested all these incredible things into their life. And this is where it started. You know, it started with really just taking their power back over their body and over food.
Well, it's like it gives them that permission to do the thing that they don't know they're allowed to do. Everyone's like, give me permission. Here you go. Like once you start like being empowered to make your own decisions, like you said, you're like, oh, where else blindly doing something because it's the right thing to do. And I love that about our MM members.
I will say, I think probably the hardest part that I see for so many people that we work with, I think it's giving up those rules and giving up just not having someone tell you, you have to eat exactly this. I had someone message me saying that they were told they had to eat chicken and egg whites to be healthy. I'm like, nope, you can eat more than chicken and egg whites. I promise you, and you'll probably enjoy life a lot more. So I think giving up the rules is almost like the hardest part.
Oh yeah. There's clients are always like, am I doing it right? And they're asking me as a coach, I'm like, ask yourself, is XYZ happening? Because if it is, you are. If it's not, like where, like what do you think you need to switch around? And it's like suddenly like it clicks. I could do this myself.
And that honestly, I think is the most important part right there is that eating this way, especially when we're just talking about like controlling blood sugar, it helps you get reconnected with your body. Mm-hmm. And we are so, as a society, we are so disconnected from our bodies in every way. And so, you know, this morning, actually, I was on a call with the Metabolism Makeover members and somebody had asked about macro counting. They're like, it's just really helpful for me to count my macros and blah, blah, blah. How do I know what I'm eating at each meal? And I was like, look, I'm not anti-macro counting. I mean, I may seem like it, you know, because one of the things that I say is like, you can not count macros and still lose weight. Yeah, you can count macros, but I want you to go these 30 days without doing it because I want you to be able to reconnect with your hunger and your satiety hormones, because without that, you'll either never see long-term results or you'll just be counting your macros for the rest of your life. Those are your 2 options. So you have to get reconnected with your body. And I think too, when you start getting reconnected with your body and just your hunger hormones, you start getting more reconnected with your body in other ways. And you start noticing like, how do I feel when I sleep 6 hours a night versus 7? How do I react to my kids when I don't do my meditation in the morning? You start making these connections, and those connections are so important. They take you off this autopilot that so many of us are living on and just like, you know, going through our days. You know, so many women that I work with, they're so unhappy and so unfulfilled. You got to start somewhere. And when you can start reconnecting to your body, I think, you know, it will bleed over into other areas of your life.
Yeah. And you might as well start with something you have to do every day.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And you're going to get immediate results too.
Exactly.
Like, I'm not saying that you're going to lose 5 pounds overnight, but there is no way that you don't have more energy when you're keeping your blood sugar balanced. Like it's just not possible. Yeah. So you at least will start feeling better. Yeah.
Yeah. One of my first things I saw was like, wow, I'm not hungry all day long when I actually eat a meal that fills me up and keeps me full for longer than an hour and a half. I don't have to eat every 2 hours. That's pretty nice.
Yes. It's so nice. It's so free.
Speaking of Metabolism Makeover, because now you've helped so many women, like it's an amazing program, so successful, but what was your first round of Metabolism Makeover?
Yeah. So now these days we have, or like in March, we have about 350 members, and that's typically our smallest group. We pump a lot of women and even some men through the program. But my first round of Metabolism Makeover, we had 17 clients. And which I thought was amazing. I was super pumped about that. I actually launched it before I created it, and which is something
It's on brand.
It's on brand. I mean, I knew what I wanted to do. Like I had sort of wireframed it. I had been working with one-on-one clients for a while, and I took them through a process. We always started with blood sugar control. Then we would talk about the workouts, and then we would talk about sleep and stress and gut, it was the same. I've been doing the same damn thing for whatever, 5-6 years now. But I didn't have any of it really created like for a group program because I didn't know if anybody was going to buy it, but I did. There were 17 people that bought. I had no email service. I just had like my probably nutrition addiction. That's what my company was called at the time, at gmail.com. And I spent a week, launched it like 2 weeks ahead of time. And I gave myself 2 weeks to make the meal plan and put the lessons together. And yes, we went live once a week, and I pretty much covered all the content for the week on that live. And then I would answer questions. We was all done on Facebook Live. So it was pretty primitive, but it was great because clients got a lot of attention from me as I was trying to build this out. And I actually did it that way for quite a while. It wasn't like a course. It was more of a boot camp, I guess I would call it. I think my second group had only like 11 people. So it was a slow start. It was a pretty slow start, but I kept working with the clients. I kept changing the program, making it a little better each time. I eventually turned it into a course after probably after about 9 months or so, or it was almost a year probably. I did it very hands-on for a long time, which was truthfully, I think that's the success of the program. It's so easy for creators to, they do something once and then they're like, I made it. I want to turn it evergreen. And I never wanted to do that. I don't want to say it wasn't about the money. I mean, I'm definitely driven by money. I need to make a living, but I always had this really long-term vision. I did not need the quick cash. I needed the long-term sustainable business. And I really had that in my mind from the very beginning, even when I was broke ass poor. And looking back on it, I'm so glad that I did it that way because I worked with 100 clients, at least like really, really one-on-one and intentionally during that first year before I actually turned it into a course and started scaling it.
Yeah. And probably learned like what are the consistent pain points that women are having, and like really being able to pinpoint it. And honestly, like dietitians all have similar personalities. We're all perfectionists. Who knows if you would have been like, I'm just going to wait till this is perfect to start. I think you needed to just hit the ground running.
Yeah.
I have a deadline now that I need to make this happen.
Yeah, I'm really grateful for that. I mean, I'm not a perfectionist. I have people on my team that like have to walk behind me and make sure that I'm that proofread literally everything that I put out. I actually went in this weekend. I don't know if you guys saw my newsletter yesterday, but I went in and I changed a couple things in the newsletter. And it's like, I changed like 3 words and one of them was in the subject. And I accidentally deleted one of the quotation marks in the subject. And Helena, my sister who proofreads everything, immediately when the newsletter comes out, texts me. She's like, Megan, what did you do? Did you change the newsletter? I was like, yes. She's like, why is it that everything you touch has a typo? And I'm like, I don't know. I can't.
I don't know. I want them to know it's me. How to do it.
I have told you so many times, do not send something without letting me check it. So anyways, it's been really honestly one of my strengths, I think, because I just wrote out it and it was a total mess before I had employees, but my people stuck with me. So
yeah. And it's really good to kind of hear about your story because I remember when I first met you, one of the things you said to me was like, I had no choice but to succeed. And you were kind of talking to me because I was deciding on either being an entrepreneur or staying in the hospital, working there. And kind of what motivated me, where you were just like, if you want to be an entrepreneur, great, but you have to kind of kick butt there and you just don't have any choice but to succeed. It was all on me. That was what really helped me move forward too.
I actually it was a friend at the time. We had done like a program together where we launched, I actually think it was when I launched Metabolism Makeover. I was doing like a mastermind that kind of like helped me do this. I don't know if you have a lot of entrepreneurs that are your listeners, but that's one of my biggest tips, I guess, or pieces of advice. Work with someone to help you. Like you do not have to reinvent the wheel. But anyways, so I had joined this mastermind and somebody that I was working with at the time, or that was in the mastermind with me, I think it was maybe like a year later, she came to me for advice. She was like, tell me your secret. Like how how do you keep cranking these programs out? And like, how are you? And she's amazing. I love her, but she doesn't have to work, and she just doesn't. She can stay at home, but she wanted it. Like she wanted to have this business, but I was like, you're not desperate enough. Like I will get kicked out of my apartment if I don't make this money. I was married at the time and my ex-husband was like hemorrhaging money from me. And we don't need to get into all of that. But when I tell you that quite literally, I would not have had a place to live if I was not cranking out, $10,000 months, you figure it out. Like you figure out how to make money real quick.
That is so true.
I'm so grateful that I had that. You look at me now and people think like, oh, you're such a risk taker. You're such a hard worker. Yeah, sure. But I was not always like that. Like I really grew this business out of desperation. And as hard as it was, I'm so grateful for that experience now. I really am.
Yeah. Really cool to kind of see how even through that desperation and even through like having no choice but to keep going, it wasn't like you automatically went to the automations. You kept just cranking out what needs to be done because that's what's going to be more important. Like we want to help people.
Yep. Yeah. And I also think, I felt like I had more control over it. Like I knew if I could connect with people, I could get them to sign on as clients. Whereas if I had automated everything, I wouldn't have had as much control over it. So I think that was probably part of it too. And I also worked my butt off. I bartended for quite a long time, actually, until I finally got to the point where I was like, okay, I can't grow the business anymore if I'm up 3-4 nights a week until 3-4 in the morning, working. And so I finally made that switch over, but yeah.
So, okay. So you have a successful business, successful program. What's next for you?
Well, I wrote a book over this last year, which has been, yes. I never wanted to write a book. I was like, never. I was like, I don't know why people want to write books. It sounds horrible and it's not fun.
I was going to say, it doesn't sound fun. I don't know if you changed
like
that.
So, it's changed my opinion, none, but I'm so glad that I let me back up for a second. So I was working with a coach a year and a half or so ago. And one of the things we talked about was my primary goal was number one, I want to scale the business, but I want to position myself as a thought in the space because I think it's needed. Someone who is a dietitian who is talking about the opposite, essentially, of what we're learning in school. And I want to be a leader and I want to be that person for other dietitians like you guys. I mean, just stories here. I'm like, this is why I primarily work with clients, but this is why I do what I do, listening to what you guys are saying, said at the beginning of the podcast. And so we kind of talked about different ways to go about that. I got to do more than just like run these programs. And it came down to writing a book, because when you write a book, then you can get booked for more speaking gigs and I was like, I don't really want to write a book. He's like, well, you're a good writer, Megan. Like this would really be the easiest thing for you to do. And he was like, just you get a book out there. It doesn't have to be a New York Times bestseller. Like you just have to get a book out there. So I was like, okay, I'll just get a book out there. Well, I can't do that. I can't just put a book out there. Right. And so I spent a year and a half writing this book. I've put just an enormous amount of time and energy into it. And it's amazing to watch it transform into what it's become. And it's also made the program better too, because it made me do so much. I don't know. It just made me look at the program differently and how I present information and how I explain it, because it's very different, like a book versus a program. Anyways, it comes out in May 2nd, and you can pre-order it now and it'll ship out on May. And actually, for your audience members, if they're going to hear this before May 2nd, I would say pre-order it because you can get some really sweet bonuses. We have lots of good bonuses that will go along with the book that you can use prior to reading the book as well as while you read it.
Yes. I may or may not have read the book. So,
I love it. It's really good. Good. I'm glad.
I love it. And it's stuff that I'm teaching to clients. And I'm still like, oh my gosh, I love this.
Yeah. It's a resource. One of my favorite pieces of feedback I've gotten from it is from other clinicians, either dietitians or just like physicians or psychologists or PTs that are like, how do I use this in my practice? Like, I want to use this. So that obviously means a lot to me because I can only reach so many people, but if I can teach other clinicians how to talk to their patients and how to coach their clients, like that's the ultimate goal, really.
Well, And it's such a good resource, but it's more than like a guide. Like, I feel like you do a really good job at making women feel heard. Like, hey, you've heard this. Is this you? Like, this isn't just you. It is so many other women feeling this way. You're not alone. Here's how to fix it. Here's how to feel better.
It's very conversational, I would say.
Mhm.
Yeah. For a nutrition book, it's very much like, hey, like, let's just hang out and chat about nutrition and metabolism.
Yeah, you explain things really well. And I think even while I was reading it myself, it's almost like I can hear your voice in my head the whole time.
Good.
We did want to ask, are you able to give us a little sneak peek? Anything you want to read from it?
Actually, yeah. So, all right, here's a good one, actually. Next month in our monthly program, we're focused on movement. Now, I'll just give you kind of an overview of the book. So it starts out just introducing this sort of concept. The first chapter is actually how we got here. And so I kind of walk through, or the introduction is more like how we got here, like how did we all end up here? How did we end up in this place where we are completely at war with our bodies and just completely disconnected from ourselves and unable to lose weight, even though the weight loss industry is like a 70-some billion dollar industry. Yeah. And then I go into the metabolic ecosystem and what it is. And then each pillar that I talked about earlier really outline in each chapter. And then we go into, actually, I'm changing my mind. We're going to go to chapter 8. Chapter 8 is train your brain. And this is actually something that I think is missing big time in any nutrition weight loss book that you're reading. Let me just read it instead of explaining. I'll read this first page here. Now that you have all the details of each of the 6 pillars that make up the metabolic ecosystem, it's time I let you in on a little secret. If we zoom out and take a 10,000-foot view, the metabolic ecosystem in its entirety is only 20% of losing weight, keeping it off, and never going on another diet again. The other 80% is right inside your head. The mind is perhaps the most mysterious part of the human body. Sure, we know the brain as an organ, its structure, how it works like a computer, processing information through chemical and electrical signals. But the mind, that's a place you really can't map. In fact, it's not really a place at all. It's more of a collection of experiences, synonymous with our thoughts, emotions, memories, and beliefs. And there is still a lot that we don't know about this crucial component of what makes us human. What we do know is that there are 2 components of our mind, the conscious and the subconscious mind, that dictate our thoughts, actions, and experiences on a daily basis. The conscious mind is anything we are aware of in the current moment, what we're feeling, doing, touching, saying, experiencing, and the subconscious mind contains all of the information from our past experiences. It impacts the way that we feel, how we respond, react, and experience life. According to psychologist Benjamin Hardy, what happens on your subconscious level influences what happens on your conscious level. In other words, what goes on internally, even subconsciously, eventually becomes your reality. So why am I going into this in the book? Because when we think about behavior change, like I can talk to you all day about how to manage your blood sugar, how to rev up your metabolism. I can talk to you about sleep. I can talk to you about stress, but if you're not actually changing your behaviors, it's not going to happen. And we so often, our problem, and this is what I really detail in the book, is that when we try to change a habit, we immediately go to behavior change. Duh, right? Like it just makes sense. I say that out loud and you're like, okay, yeah, duh. No, that doesn't work. 9 times out of 10, unless let me say this. It doesn't work if your subconscious mind is telling you no. If your subconscious mind, which is always, it's very much based on our past experiences, our childhood, our trauma, but not just our trauma, like good things that happen in our life are also stored in our subconscious mind. And it really influences our beliefs that we have about ourselves. And a lot of our automatic responses, behaviors every day are actually decisions that are being made from our subconscious. There's no like real hard proof on this, but from what I found, I did a lot of research on this. The vast majority of psychologists agree that at least 95% of our minds or the decisions that we make every day are coming from our subconscious. So all of that to say, we have to change our beliefs and our identity and who we are before we go and we try to change our behaviors. So just to give you an example, if you decide I want to lose weight, you're like, okay, I want to lose weight. What's the first thing that you do? Okay. You clean out your pantry, you put yourself on a diet, you order meal delivery, maybe you sign up for a gym membership. Okay. Those are all behaviors and that'll last for a little while. But if there's the thought inside your head that you're a failure and you're a self-sabotager and that you're fat and you're going to be fat for the rest of your life, there is literally no chance that you are going to continue on this path. And so it's really, I love to say that weight loss is an art and a science, because the science I teach you at the beginning, and that's great. And that is so helpful. And it can definitely impact the way that you think about food and your body. And there's no doubt about it. But the science is your mind. And if you don't get your mind right, there's a possibility that you will never see results, no matter how much science you have. So you have to have both. And so I couldn't write the book without including that. And actually in chapter 8, I walk you through exercise. It kind of like maps out your whole plan for you. Like if you have a goal, have you set a goal for yourself and then back it up, like walk into it from making a change on an identity level, how to change your beliefs, and then eventually go down into changing your behaviors. Because if you're not changing your beliefs and what you think about yourself on a daily basis, you'll never follow through on those behaviors.
Just reading that chapter, I already have like 47 people in my head that I'm like, you need this book, you need this book, you need this book, because it is so important. And it is what is getting in so many people's ways is how we're thinking about ourselves, what we're telling ourselves, the stories we're telling ourselves. And even thinking about their past experiences, especially working in the fat loss area, everyone thinks about, well, I've done this diet, I did it, I lost 10 pounds and it was great. Now I want to do that again. I'm like, well, 10 pounds in a week, that's not a great thing to do, because now obviously that didn't work. You're here again, right? So that instant gratification that people have seen, a lot of that comes up in the subconscious when
Well, yeah. And I'm always telling clients, like, your mindset drives the actions that you take.
Yes.
Okay. It drives it. For example, oh my gosh, I ate so terrible yesterday. I shouldn't eat today. And I need to go for like an hour run. That is your mindset of you being so upset with yourself, upset with how you feel, telling yourself, oh, I'm fat, I need to do this. That's driving you instantly to wanting to restrict and wanting to overexercise. But that's not how it's going to fix you wanting to lose weight, right? But how you think about yourself is going to dictate what you decide to do. And those things that you're doing because of your negative mindset are keeping you from your ultimate goal. So it's like you're at war with yourself.
Also, like, it's going to take more than a day. It's going to take more than a week and everything to change your mindset. This is a lot of continuous work as well.
Yes. We are lifelong projects. And I think the more we can, I love thinking in terms of a year. So I think it's really helpful for people when they go into any sort of change they want to make, whether they want to make a dent in their health, their weight, their mental health, their, I don't know, their family life. Like, give yourself a year. Like, stop putting 30 days. I actually stopped calling what used to be the 30-day metabolism makeover. And even though the core program is 30 days, I removed that because I automatically people think like, oh, in 30 days, I'm going to make over my metabolism.
Yeah,
no,
it's not linear.
Give yourself, for anything, give yourself a year and watch the trajectory of your life change when you do that, so that you stop repeating these patterns over and over and over again, to stop and start and stop and self-sabotage. Like this stuff takes time.
And that's another thing I think I love about Metabolism Makeover. And even you're super transparent about it. You're like, yeah, I preach about X, Y, and Z. Sometimes like sleep isn't going well. I know this is what I'm doing to try to help it. Like, this is just realistic. And we're not going to be perfect all the time. And I think that's why I do love the concept of the pillars is nothing is ever going to be fully perfect. So focus on where you can, and learning to shift is like what makes it sustainable.
It's actually empowering to know that there are 6 areas. It's not just if I screw up my diet, then either I have to go and work out for hours or bust. Like, those are my 2 options. No, there's so many more things that go into your health, your metabolic health, your weight. So you have a lot of places that you can play. And if you're in a season of life where you can't get as much sleep because you have a baby or just young children or something with your job, then listen, this is the time to really hone in on blood sugar management and eating foods and really paying attention to your diet, because you don't have a lot of room for error there. I love, shift workers, especially like nurses. I'm like, listen, you don't have a lot of room for error. Where we can be 80-20, you need to be 90-10, 95-5. Like, That's just the way, if you're gonna,
right now.
that's where you're at right now. That shouldn't be limiting. That should be empowering. That should make you feel good. Like if you're not going to get as good of a sleep, like let's really hone in and make sure that your blood sugar is super steady and that we're really taking care of you. Your stress, like what can you do?
I think it is empowering to those women who've like, I've been dieting and exercising forever. I've been doing everything right and I'm not seeing results. Like,
Yeah.
hey, guess what?
Where
This
else
is
can we
why.
look?
Wow. I probably need more than 4 hours of sleep. Great. Now look what happens when I get 6 hours, 7 hours, 8 hours of sleep. You know?
Yeah, I know. I had someone this morning on the call who said that. She was like, I had no idea that me waking up super early for my workout and only getting 5.5 hours of sleep was what my problem was. And like, weird. Now all of a sudden I feel amazing. And I'm actually like, you know, I have less bloat. I have less inflammation. Yeah, exactly.
I love that.
Yes.
When talking about the book, what is the biggest impact that you hope this makes on people?
Yeah, I want this book to give people permission to lose weight in a way that feels really good. Weight loss is synonymous with negativity. There's a lot of shame attached to it. People don't really like to talk about losing weight. There's also a lot of, you know, we just need to accept our bodies where they're at, which yes, we do need to accept our bodies where they're at. That's an amazing movement. But there's also people feel guilty now for wanting to lose weight and for wanting to change their body. I hear a lot, like, I know I just need to accept myself from where I'm at, but I really do want to lose weight. And I want this book to make weight loss fun again. And not again, it never was.
Like,
I want to make it fun. I want to make it feel good. I want to make it an empowering process and get them excited to want to do it.
Yeah. It's funny you say that because that's one of our first episodes is weight loss is okay.
Yes.
Oh, that's awesome. Yes. It was
Okay.
actually a really good question, Bailey. I actually hadn't thought about that before, weirdly. So it kind of made me have to think, but that's definitely my answer. I want to make it like, yeah, like make it okay. Even more than that. When the women go through Metabolism Makeover and in the first week or two, and especially now, like week kind of 3, 4, and they're just so excited. They're like, oh my God, I get to eat like this forever. I mean, what other point in your life when you're losing weight do you say that? Are you like, this is awesome. I can't wait to do this for the rest of my life.
Yeah. I'm no longer thinking about food all day and I'm feeling amazing. Like, what is this? I didn't know this was possible.
Yeah.
I always think about it too, is that we see so many diets and programs. They're always like, it's a lifestyle change. It's this. But what we're teaching you, this is actually a lifestyle change, like getting to enjoy all the foods you want, being able to have no guilt around social events and going out with your friends. That's a lifestyle change. A lifestyle change isn't eating out of containers or taking these specific fat burning pills or whatever they're claiming to be this lifestyle change. A lifestyle change is learning how your body works and what you can do to work with your body and enjoy your life too.
And there's no rules. Like, do whatever you want. If you want to eat the whole package of Oreos, do it. Like, we're telling you what it does to your body, but you get to decide. I'm not going to eat the whole package, not because I'm not supposed to, but I'm not going to eat it because, you know what, I actually don't want to wake up feeling like crap in the morning.
Exactly.
So, you know, and you know what, I can have Oreos tomorrow and it's not the end of the world. Like, keep it moving. So that's an actual life.
I love to tell people you're an adult. Like when they say, can I eat this? I'm like, you're an adult. You can do whatever you want, but this is how you're going to feel. This is what's going to happen. And now you get to make the decision and decide what you're going to do after, if you do.
Yeah, exactly.
Simple.
Which people do well with. People do well with that. We like to make our own choices. We think we don't, like you said at the beginning, we think we don't. We do. Like, you know, you tell the little kid, don't touch it. Like now they're going to want to touch it.
Exactly.
Stop telling people they can't eat things. So then that's all they're going to want to eat. And then we're upset about it. It's strange.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Megan, for joining.
Welcome. Thank you for having me.
This was so good. We do have one last question for you. So I think all of us can kind of relate that we are almost the last resort for many people looking for weight loss. So they come to us, they're like, nothing has worked. I don't know what to do. I'm at the point I just want to starve myself. So what would be your last words of advice to people like that who just feel like nothing works, they're never going to see results, and they just need to starve forever?
This is going to be good. I have a feeling. I always love these.
First of all, you know, I think if you're in a place where you feel like nothing is going to work and you just need to accept where you are, you have very likely came to that point because you continue to do the same things over and over and over and over again. And you keep failing at it. And we all know, of course, that the definition of insanity is continuing to do the same thing without actually, seeing a different result. And so I would challenge that person to try something different. When you focus on your body and your actual metabolic health, you can't fail. That's not something that you can fail at, because I think the most important part here is not focusing on the weight loss. And I'm fully supportive of anyone who wants to lose weight. We are here for that. We can help you with that. But when you take your focus off of weight loss and you kind of like zoom out and you think about yourself 10 years from now, 20 years from now, and you really hone in on like how you want to feel when you're 50, 60, 70, 80 years old, you are going to take such a different perspective for overall health and wellness. So, really hone in. No one is going to lose if you're focused on blood sugar control. No one is going to lose if you get into the gym and you start lifting weights. You just do those two things, you are going to have a longer lifespan. Like, there is no doubt about it. And once you have that down, work on your mobility, work on your movement, make sure that you're sleeping 8 hours a night, focus on your stress management. Take these things that I'm talking about here one by one and start implementing them into your life. And again, there's no way that you can lose. If you do that for 6 months and like one by one, take each pillar and work on it for a month and just hone in on it for 1 month and nothing else. You do that for 6 months and you still feel the same. You haven't lost a single pound. Well, in that case, there is something else going on in your body that we need to take a look at. And I think that's what's so empowering about this, is because in Metabolism Makeover, I'm giving you the foundations for your metabolic health. And if those foundations are not moving the needle at all, then there is something going on and we need to do blood work, and we might need to look at your gut, look at your mineral status. Like, I don't know, there's a lot of different things that we can look at, but there is an answer. Like, there is a reason why you are not seeing results. And I think just, don't give up.
Yes, that was a perfect answer. It's exactly what we needed.
Yes.
Yeah, I love it. You're not going to fail. You're not going to fail. Making yourself feel better and being better.
Yes. And just like you said, there's always a reason why you're not seeing results too. And even for me personally, I could not figure out why I was still dragging a little bit every day, always been a little bit fatigued, kind of like I was in slow motion. So I actually did an HTMA test and it revealed so much. I'm like, okay, well, this makes sense. There's a reason.
Yeah.
So there's always a reason for something.
I purposely won't do that right now because I already know.
Yeah. You're like, yeah, it's kind of like when we have pregnant women or women who are breastfeeding, it's like, don't do this now. Just don't. Like, that's just dumb. Like, come back when you're done. It's like not.
Yeah. It's not the place for you right now. We all know, but it's nice to know that like, hey, I can do X, Y, and Z and feel better. And when I'm not in this season of life, I know I'm going to feel even better. I'm not broken. It's not a lack of willpower. I'm not broken.
Yes.
Yep.
So Megan, if people aren't following you right now, can you share where they can find you?
Yeah, of course. So I'm at Megan the Dietitian on Instagram, Megan.the.dietitian. My program account is at the Metabolism Makeover. And then we're at metabolismmakeover.co, not .com, for our website.
Sounds good.
All right.
Well, thank you everyone for joining Mocktail Minutes, and we'll see you next week.
We'll see ya.